Coming up on this week's Collegian Report. Want to help design Larson Commons? We'll tell you how.
Plus, a new clothing store is bringing a vintage touch to downtown Brookings.
And students only had 24 hours to create a new production at the PAC last weekend. The Collegian Report starts now. Welcome back to the Collegian Report. I'm Kennedy Foster.
And I'm Emily DeCock. You have the chance to give your input on the inside of Larson Dining. The main floor of Larson Commons has tables and chairs for students to try out and give their opinion. Students can vote yes, no, or maybe on the options they like. Students' votes will be considered when final plans are made, and voting is open now and ends Tuesday, so make sure you get your vote in.
Students were front and center last weekend during the one-day plays at the PAC. Rehearsal for the one-day plays started early on Saturday morning. The casts had one day to practice and memorize their scripts before they performed on Sunday. Scripts were written by the 3 students with the help of 3 professional guest playwrights from Los Angeles and New York. A cast of students then acted out the 10-minute plays. Student stage manager Garrett Von Eye talked about how students work with professional playwrights.
They each had an individual meeting with one of the professional playwrights to work through their first draft of the show and to get feedback and to polish up their scripts.
The next SDSU theater performance is the musical Sweeney Todd on April 16th through the 19th.
There's a new place to buy old clothes in Brookings. Brookings natives and brothers Hunter and Walker Lyles opened Ma's House Vintage in December. The store sells authentic vintage clothes, shoes, hats, pins, and accessories. They also have a collection of vintage SDSU pieces. They started out by selling clothes at pop-ups around the area, and something that started out as a hobby turned into the brothers having their very own brick-and-mortar store. Co-owner Hunter Lyles explained the process.
Essentially, we were into like streetwear, and then we just got into vintage probably like 8 to 10 years ago, and we mostly just thrifted for ourselves. So we were like, why not do something we love and then make it a business?
Ma's House Vintage is located at 314 Main Avenue in downtown Brookings. The store is open Thursday and Friday from 11 to 6 and Saturday from 11 to 4.
If you're looking for something to do next week, here are a few events taking place on campus. The School of Performing Arts has a band and choir concert on Monday. Alpha Xi Delta is hosting a bingo event in the market on Tuesday. The Art Museum is having a grounded in art yoga session on Wednesday. UPC is holding a Clue-themed whodunit event on Thursday, and SDSU and USD's cellos are coming together for Vivaldi's Four Seasons on Saturday. For a full list of events, you can find it on Jack's Club Hub's calendar.
And the swine unit expansion is moving forward. Taylor Tennant will have that story coming up next.
And both men and women's basketball face arch-rival Yotes on Saturday with Summit League seating on the line.
The Collegian is SDSU's student-run newspaper. For 140 years, the Collegian has provided students, faculty, and staff with everything they need to know. You can pick up an issue on Wednesdays at locations all around Brookings or view it online at sdsucollegian.com.
This week's Jackrabbit Ag Report is sponsored by SD Corn.
Welcome back to the Jackrabbit Ag Report. I'm Taylor Tennant. SDSU's swine facility expansion is becoming a reality. Governor Larry Roden signed into law House Bill 1118, approving the expansion, which allows the university to raise all swine born at the facility to market. This gives students more hands-on experience and research opportunities. Several South Dakota commodity groups helped fund this expansion. The project is expected to break ground this summer. This week, Cafe students are representing SDSU at the annual Commodity Classic in San Antonio, Texas. The 4-day conference draws more than 11,000 attendees and focuses on commodity agriculture. Students are hearing from industry leaders, including the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, and attending sessions on topics like precision agriculture and farm profitability. The trip is supported by the state agriculture groups and event sponsors. We'll have more details of the students' experiences on the Collegian Report next week. High school students traded their classrooms for SDSUs this week. On Monday, students from across the region visited campus for Cafe's Day in the Life, an event that's been bringing future jackrabbits to campus for more than a decade. The day included an admission session, a student panel, and the chance to sit on Cafe's classes like livestock breeding and genetics. 45 students took part this year. The event is held annually, with the next one planned for next spring.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of great stuff. Now we'll have Annie Witt with the weather.
Thanks, Kennedy. Today we're looking at windy conditions with a warmer than usual high of 50 degrees and a low of 12 tonight. Saturday turns colder with a high of 19 degrees and a low of 5, and there's also a chance of snow. Sunday brings some slight warmth and a high of 25 degrees and a low of 14. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Annie.
And thankfully the cold weather Saturday won't matter much because everyone's going to be packing for Spank and Trust Arena for women's basketball.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game. SDSU men's basketball got a 91-83 win over UND last weekend. The game was tight through the first half, with UND holding a 44-42 lead at halftime. The Hawks extended their lead to 7 points in the second half and held with under 10 minutes to play. The Jacks stormed back thanks in part to senior Matthew Morris, who scored 18 on the night, and sophomore Joe Saylor, who had 23 points and 8 rebounds. With the game tied at 81 with just over 2 minutes to play, the ball was put in the hands of junior Kalen Gary, who drove to the cup and laid it up to give the Jacks a 2-point lead and force a timeout. The Jacks would come out of the timeout and outscore the Hawks 8-2 to get the win. SDSU is back in action after their win over Kansas City Thursday night. They play USD in Vermillion Saturday afternoon. Jackrabbits women's basketball team got redemption on Wednesday with a 59-44 win over NDSU in Fargo. The Jacks are now 13-2 in conference play and handed the Bison their first loss of the season in Summit League play. A big reason for the Jackrabbit win was senior guard Madison Mathewitz, who scored a game-high 23 points. After a dominant performance on the road, SDSU will return home tomorrow night to host USD. The Jackrabbits, who are second in the Summit League with a 13-2 record, will face the third-place Coyotes, who have a 12-3 record. Jackrabbits will host the third-place Coyotes with Summit League seating on the line. Tip-off is scheduled for 6 p.m. tomorrow. The SDSU track team is currently in Grand Forks, North Dakota, competing in the Summit League Indoor Championships. Competition started 9:30 this morning and will finish tomorrow afternoon. The men will try to defend their title from last season, while the women will look to improve on their 4th-place finish last year. You can watch the Jacks compete at midcoastsportsplus.com.
Thanks, Cordell. Hopefully the men and women can get that done.
Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend in sports.
Coming up, see how UPC showed students that you can judge a book by its cover.
Collegian Radio on KSDJ is SDSU's student-run radio station. For over 30 years, the radio has been on air to broadcast music and news for students, faculty, and staff. You can listen to Collegian Radio on KSDJ by tuning into 90.7 in your car or listening online at sdsucollegian.com.
Looking to stay up to date on news around campus? Collegian Media is SDSU's student-run newspaper, radio station, and newscast. From writing to anchoring, taking photos and videos, or selling advertising, Collegian Media gives students in any major the opportunity to get involved. To learn more or to see what's happening on campus, you can visit sdsucollegian.com.
The Collegian Report wardrobe is sponsored by Trends, the sustainable fit.
Welcome back. Students got the chance to add some bling to their books earlier this week. The University Program Council held a book bedazzling event on Monday. Students brought their own books and UPC provided the tools and gems. Students had many options for colors to match their book covers. If you want to get involved with UPC, they're hiring right now. Students can scan QR codes around campus or go to the UPC office in the Union. For upcoming events, you can visit Jack's Club Hub. That's all for the Collegian Report this week.
You can stay up to date on the latest news online at sdsucollegian.com or on our social media at SDSU Collegian Media.
Thanks for watching.